Good evening, my name is Alun R, and tonight I'm facilitating a game of Monster of the Week entitled Protect and Survive, Winter is Coming. This is the second of 2 sessions being run for the Gauntlet RPG. If you don't know what the Gauntlet is, then please look up the Gauntlet RPG in any search engine, and you will find a rich community of people playing a huge variety of games. And just having a good time with role playing. This Monster of the Week is written by Michael Sands and is the system we're using tonight. It's enriched with some setting details and some background from the Liminal RPG, recently published by Paul Mitchener, a fabulous book that I would recommend to you. Shortly I'll ask my 3 players to introduce themselves and their characters before we pick up where we left off last time. The background to this is that Her Majesty's pursuivants, paid for from the royal household with no connection to the British government, have been protecting the realm from the occult and supernatural since Elizabeth I granted them a charter. The organization's gone through a lot of change over the years, most recently at a time of austerity. Its manpower and person power has been cut back. And so what we find is increasingly they recruit irregulars to undertake their investigations. And 2 of tonight's characters are irregulars. However, there is a single pursuivant with responsibility for the entire north of England, and he's appeared in this market town in Yorkshire, Ripon, under his own steam. He was not briefed with the other 2, perhaps because he's in the north, and London traditionally doesn't brief the north well. So that's the broad setting. It is a follow-up to a previous investigation where a long-standing fairy pact was discovered between, it appears, the church and the fairy queen of the north, which I'll fill in the details of as we proceed. But now I think I'd like to ask the players to introduce themselves and their characters. I'll do it in the order on the character keeper, please. So that would begin with Scott. Would you introduce yourself and your character? Thank you.
Sure. I'm Scott R, he, him, and I'll be playing Lunk. Lunk is a flake. He's a bit flighty. It's a great mystery for Lunk is nobody's ever seen the color of his eyes because they're always half closed because he's bored by most things. And the most significant thing that happened to Lunk last session would be, let's think. I had it in my head and then I just forgot. Just like Lunk, huh? Actually, I think the most significant was realizing that the gate to the church was actually unlocked when we were about to think of all the ways that we could climb the gate. Realizing that sometimes the obvious thing is the thing to do.
Thank you for that, Scott. Moving along, Christopher, would you introduce yourself and your character, please?
Yes. Hi, I'm Christopher, and I will be playing James tonight. James is an expert. He's like, I imagine him in his mid-50s. So he has seen his fair share of monsters and supernatural already. He's quite experienced. I imagine him as a tall, slim, old-fashioned guy wearing old-style clothes, sometimes smoking a pipe and frowning at this modern technology, which he's really not so good at. And obviously, his most significant moment in the last session was discovering this original, or is it original, but anyways, very old version of Alice in Wonderland. And he's keeping this book very close to his heart.
Thank you for that. Yes, I mustn't forget about that first edition of Alice in Wonderland. And finally, Will, would you introduce yourself and your character, please?
Hi, well, I'm Will, and I'm playing Sharp, who's looks like Sean Bean, and he's a pursuivants man in the north. He's making do with a lot of nothing, basically. Northern powerhouse, my ass. Yeah, he's an initiate. He's a long-standing member of the order, seen as a bit old-fashioned, perhaps by southern fairies. But yeah, his most significant last session was, I think, meeting these two chances that he's been saddled with for securing the town of Ripon, who first thing they did was shove a book of Alice in Wonderland in his face rather than tell him about the mission. But yeah, he's got a mission of his own, which is to find out information about the Winter Court for the pursuivants, as well as to the wider mission of stopping the affecting town of Ripon.
Okay, thank you for that. I am just going to warn our thousands of listeners and viewers that I seem to be still having some internet problems. So I may be asking the players to say things twice because I'm missing every occasional word at the moment. Fingers crossed. I've turned my bandwidth down as far as I dare. So yeah, fingers crossed. So just to remind you, we will be using some safety tools tonight. Principally among them the X card. If you make the X card gesture, then I won't ask you why. I will simply ask you when you'd like me to rewind in the fiction too, and then I'll play forward from that, avoiding anything in the interval that might be of concern to you. We're also playing with some lines and veils. The ones we agreed last time were that lines we would not cross, so simply won't crop up in the fiction. Graphic violence against children, graphic sexual violence against anyone, graphic torture, and graphic violence against animals. We may see the consequences of that, or that may drive some event in the fiction, but we won't see it happen. And in terms of veils, sex will be veiled. The curtain will fall. It can happen, but the curtain will fall. So with all that in mind, I think that we will make a start. Now, at the end of last session, our intrepid heroes broke in to the deanery in Ripon, the home of the former dean, who died under apparently innocent circumstances a matter of weeks ago. And using one of the pursuivants' departmental phones to look into the past, they saw the moment of his death and have identified that, or they believe that it is a fairy redcap who caused his death before disappearing. So that was a principal clue. That was in the small hours of the morning. They return to the pub where they're staying, and unless you have anything else you want to do in the small hours of the morning, I'm going to assume that we start again with a scene at breakfast in the bar of the One-Eyed Rat, where you are having breakfast served. And at that point, a policeman enters the bar. What, if anything, do any of you do?
Sharp will tuck the knife that he's carrying on him deeper into his jacket and straighten up and look very smart and keep an eye on his companions.
Okay. James, Lunk, anything specific, or just sitting there eating your breakfast?
I'm just sitting there eating my beans and toast and pretending that the policeman did not just enter.
It is actually the policeman who found you around the back of the deanery last evening when you were doing a reconnaissance. But he calls the barman, the landlord, Ben Eccles, over, and they have a whispered conversation. And you can see Ben kind of nod towards you. And so the policeman walks up to the table and he says, "Hi there, my name is PC David. Could I have a chat, please?" And he seems to be addressing himself to James.
Sure, why not? Please.
Sir, are you a member of the archaeological trust that is investigating this newly found tunnel in the cathedral by any chance?
So we did investigate this tunnel found in the cathedral just yesterday, and I must admit it is quite fascinating. So why would you ask?
It's simply that someone convinced one of the guides at the cathedral that they were an archaeologist, and we believe that they then stole a valuable book from the cathedral library before, we think, exiting from the cathedral via the tunnel. Would you know anything about that, sir?
What kind of book was this? Could you elaborate a bit? I mean, this would help me in, evaluating this situation.
So, I'm a bit confused, sir. I simply want to know, are you a member of the trust? Because my inquiries have suggested that the person of interest that I'm seeking is staying here. Are you a member of the trust, sir?
So I look to my fellow colleagues. A bit unsure what I should answer here. Obviously, holding my breath.
Sharp will cough loudly and start rummaging in his pockets for his, his royal household badge, and he will, he'll lean forward and say, "Yeah, officer, this man is a renowned archaeologist. In fact, we've been consulting here at the royal household on whether he can help us with some genealogical and historical investigations into, the bloodline of the royals there in the north. Gets all a bit messy around the, the War of the Roses. People die, things happen, So yeah, I'm not privy to, the specific trust, but I can vouch for the man. He's an expert in anything."
And so he examines the badge and he says, "Oh, that's coincidental. I had a colleague of yours here about a week ago." But then he looks back to James and says, "So, sir, you are an archaeologist, and were you at the cathedral yesterday? And did you have that conversation with one of the guides?"
So I was at the cathedral, as I mentioned already, and I did investigate this tunnel, but I certainly talked to the guides about the cathedral. But I don't see the connection necessarily.
So
are you implying anything?
I'm simply interested, sir, in whether you had that conversation with one of the guides, because it appears that shortly after the person that I'm interested in had a conversation with Mrs. Winterbottom, the book was noticed to be missing. Now, if you have, appropriate identification, then that's fine, of course, because you'll have had a perfectly good reason to be in the cathedral. But of course, if you don't have that identification, so then I would ask you to accompany me to the station for a longer conversation.
Okay.
Did you say her name was Winterbottom? I was there. Books are
Agnes
boring. There's
Winterbottom.
no way he read a book in front of me. I would not have stayed. I would not have. Books. They need to have pictures for me.
So I'm still not quite clear, sir.
Who
he says,
stored the
turning
book in
back.
the tunnel anyway?
If you could just let me talk to your friend here, please, sir. So he turns to James and he says, so sir, do you have any identification so I can confirm that you are in fact the archaeologist that this person this gentleman has described?
So what James will be doing is he will go rummaging around in his pockets and in his bag, and he will be looking for this proper identification. And perhaps he has it on him. I don't know. Could I try a roll on preparedness for this?
I think that, so if I understand this correctly, you don't have appropriate identification.
Yes, not. Obviously, I'm not a member of the trust.
Indeed. So are you trying to convince him that you are, but you can't find your ID, or are you admitting that you're not? I just need to be clear.
The first one. And I'm actually trying to find it.
Okay. You will remember that in a move last time, you rolled sufficiently badly, I think, for me to have a hold to put you in a bad situation unprepared. So on the upside, this is that situation. You needn't wait any longer for it. But I think what it means then is that you are seeking to convince him, to manipulate him into believing you are this person. You do have appropriate ID. You just can't lay hands on it. Yeah?
Makes perfect sense.
So manipulate someone is to roll plus charm.
All right. Really? Okay. Let's see. Five.
Which I
can I help
means
out with
that. Go on.
My way of helping out would be to, if you can't find it, Sharp would lean over and slide over a piece of paper with the phone number of, head office, basically, who can gather all the records that are needed, because we keep a copy on record for all of our expert consultants. So I will roll my help, which is plus cool. And I do not help. I get I get snake eyes.
So this is all going terribly well. So on a 7 to 9 with helping hand, help out, you would have how's it phrased? Expose yourself to trouble or danger. I think given that you have both now failed, I think he's getting very suspicious. Sharp doesn't look like any member of the household, because he met a member of the household a week ago who was very sharply suited indeed, and looked like he belonged in the royal household. You just look like a bit of a wide boy. So I think he will ask both of you to accompany him to the station. Do you go quietly or not?
Well, if that's what's necessary, officer, then I'd be happy to come along and help you with any inquiries. But all right. Well, let's finish up. Let me get this coffee to go, and then me and the lad here will come over and we'll help you out, and we'll see what's happened with this book of yours. I've got to say the story's not really adding up on my end, but we'll see what you've got to say. Yeah.
And if Lunk has nothing to say, then they'll leave him with his what's left of his beans on toast and disappear out the door down to the police station. Yeah? In which case I'll draw that scene to an end. Okay.
Muted, Alan.
How big is Ripon again?
You're muted, Alan.
Thank you. The map you've got, I'd have thought that the area covered by that central block of pictures around the market square, 500-600 yards square.
All right. Sorry. I'm going to, I'll wait about, let's see. They just left. So I'm going to call in a robbery to, what is it? It's 999 in England. It's
999.
Yeah. To an armed robbery at an address, 10 minutes away from the village area.
Yeah, I think Google Maps will give you an elegant address in the suburbs of Ripon where you can dial this into. I just love that. Thank you. I think probably what I want you to do is to act under pressure to give me some sense of how effective this is.
Let's 9 and my cool is 1, so 10.
So on a 10, you do what you set out to do. At the point where the two of you are being escorted to the police station by PC David, he gets a call on the radio, and he says, I'm terribly sorry, gentlemen. We'll have to have this conversation later. I just need to, something important's come up. Please, could you meet me at the police station at midday? And with that, he disappears off in the other direction. And I should just stress, both of you failed those earlier rolls. Make sure you marked experience.
The sheet needs edit permissions. And while you're doing that, I'm going to stroll out, heading in the way of the station, just acting casual. Well, I only have that way to act.
So, given how swiftly Lunk came up with that idea, I think that you're barely across the market square, or not much further on from there, when PC David has to run for it. So I think probably if Lunk looks out the front door of the one-eyed rat, he will see you.
It wasn't this
unless he wants to walk.
Well, that was unexpected.
Turned out there was an armed robbery 2 miles away.
You wouldn't have anything to do with that, would you?
I don't have. I wasn't there.
All right. Nice work, son. Nice work. Now, I have to ask, did you really have to take the book? Feels like we could have avoided all this nonsense if you just left Alice where she belonged, down the rabbit hole. But
how could I leave such a book in a cathedral, where in a locked bookcase where no one can read it? It's impossible. Of course I had to take it.
All right, well, let's hope we can pin this on sticky fingers of the guide or someone at the cathedral, because otherwise this might be a bit of a complication. But anyways, how long have we got now before we have to get back to the station? Otherwise he'll be after us.
You've got about 3 hours, because that was first thing. I'm assuming his first thing was about 9 o'clock. because you were up until the small hours. So you've got about 3 hours. Just remind me, because I've a recollection that I think Lunk connected some dots at the end of the last session.
Yeah, we want to.
And I think, can you remind us the question you asked or the answer to it?
The question that I asked was, I think, when and where the next critical event occur, and the answer was near somewhere where there'd be a high congregation of children, of youth. And so maybe a school.
School's out. But strangely, you do see pasted on a lamppost beside where you're having this conversation, you do see an advertisement for Ripon by the Sea. It appears that there are a number of fairground events and other things going on today in the Spa Gardens.
Gents, what do you say we head to the gardens?
Yep, sounds good to me. We can't let anybody, let any of the little ones get taken up by this creature. See what it did to the vicar. The dean, sorry. I'm not good with me denominations.
The Spa Gardens, I think you've got an illustration of the gates of the Spa Gardens. Is a public garden, and there are a number of things in there, but a bandstand, some wood carvings, odds and sods. But more importantly, there is a large sign hanging over that gate declaring Ripon by the Sea. And you can see a number of stalls, fairground stalls have been set up. There is already the smell of hamburgers and burgers being cooked, even though it's breakfast time. And quite a large number of people are attending. I guess it's an effort to bring the seaside inland and to provide entertainment for tourists and locals. And the locals certainly are taking them up on it. Anything you want to do?
Now, I seem to remember that the wording of the original pact said that it was the most beloved child of Ripon. So we might not be looking for just any old kid, but for, the golden one, as it were. Now, how do we find that out? I'm not quite sure. None of us, you're kind of a teacher type, James, but not sure how we swing that sort of thing. If only one of us was a yummy mummy, then we might be able to sort it. But tell you what, why don't we keep an eye out?
Is there, like, I don't know, kids entertainment organized somewhere? Is there like, I don't know, something like this?
So you're advising me to go check out the kids entertainment? Then I think that's a good idea, James. Why don't we go investigate the kids entertainment? That's good advice to follow.
And while
you're definitely getting this game.
Yeah, and I spot one of my former fiancées, and she happens to be walking with her young daughter. So I just walk away from them, and don't even say a word. And Mary, it's been years.
Say that again. You broke up a bit.
Which part did you miss? Or are we still breaking up?
Dear.
I think we're still breaking up. I'm going to.
You and your fiancés are always breaking up. Try again.
Okay, so I spotted my ex-fiance walking with her daughter, holding her hand, and I just walked away from the the gents without a word and approached her. Mary, it's me, Lunk. It's been a couple of years.
And she'll look up and say, "Oh, yeah, where did you disappear to last night? I thought the evening was going to go on."
I had to go to church.
Oh, you've frozen.
No.
Hang on. I'm going to go sound only for a little while, see if that makes a difference.
All
okay.
Right.
So ask me that question again. Sorry.
I know I just told her that I went to church last night. Had to go to church. I found some religion.
Oh, and I think that what she will do is she'll invite you to kind of go along with her if she wants to. She liked you last night when you met in that bar you went to late. And because she doesn't know you, she thinks you're quite a reliable sort. So I think that what will happen is that you can accompany her around these various stalls if you want to. Are all three of you going?
No, we're not actually with Lunk. Lunk disappeared while we had our backs turned and we were walking towards entertainment.
So Lunk is having a wander around the stalls where you can throw a ball at some coconuts to knock them over or whatever, whereas the other two of you are doing what?
We're looking for this kids entertainment stuff. Usually these fairs, I mean, they have something, like organized things where all the kids can go, like, I don't know.
Punch and Judy show, that kind of thing.
Well, I tell you what,
where a crowd might be.
Help me paint the scene here. Each of you, in whatever order you like. Actually, it's probably given that I'm down to using sound at the minute. It probably makes sense for me to ask you specifically. Help me paint the scene. What is there in this event that you think would attract a large number of children, and tell me what age group it will be attracting? So let's start with Sharp. As you wander around the spa gardens, what do you see that could attract a group of children, or children and families perhaps, and what age is it aimed at?
Well, I'll go with my initial suggestion of literally a Punch and Judy show. And there's a little, one of the little tents, or the vertical one-man-sized tents set up. And there's a few families of very young children. These are sort of, families with babies and toddlers, and then sort of the pretends.
Okay.
Sort of sat around and watching, that's the way to do it, and all of that.
That's the way to do it. Okay. So you've got a Punch and Judy with lots of toddlers. Now then, James, what do you see as you're wandering around that could attract a group of children or young people, and tell me what age it's attracting?
Okay. How about like something? Let me think. Some booth where kids can learn juggling. So there's like a group of jugglers. They do all kinds of crazy stuff with like balls and rings and fire. And it attracts like all kinds of ages, I would say. Like probably, I don't know, 6, 7, up to teenagers, not like older teenagers because they're concerned with other stuff, but up to like perhaps 12, 13.
Okay. And I guess some of those older kids, maybe there's an opportunity to learn a circus skill.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Lunk, you're wandering off separately. but I'm curious, as you wander around with your fiance of last night, what do you notice, and what age group might it attract?
There's a dunking booth's been set up with one of the local teachers sitting inside, and a group of the early teens, say 11 to 14, are standing around taking turns trying to get their teacher drenched, and so that's we head over that direction.
Okay, I think so. Yeah, maybe it's probably a charity, isn't it? Dunk a teacher, pay 50p to dunk a teacher. All proceeds to the cathedral renovation fund. Okay, and the other thing you notice as you're going round is an advertisement for a battle of the bands. At the far side of the gardens is a much more open space. Now, if you have a look at your case file, you'll see some illustrations of different parts of the Spa Gardens. From the bandstand, there's a kind of laid out maze, and also an old set of tree trunks carved into characters from Alice in Wonderland. And in front of the maze, a stage has been erected. And it looks like local bands have been invited to battle it out today for a prize, and that's, I suppose, attracting older teenagers, because they're the ones I think that we've not quite covered in that age group. So you have these 4 events have attracted your attention. What do you want to do?
I think I would like to. I'm hoping that I'm sticking. I would assume that me and James are sort of sticking together in terms of, we looked around and we saw that Lunk was with us and we went, Jesus, typical. And then where I sort of encourage us to go over and look at the Punch and Judy, because Sharp feels that, I mean, do we have an idea of what age the victims were? Was there a pattern in that?
That's a good question. I think I can tell you that the last person in the list to go missing, who was a Metholmroyd, I think, Ivy Metholmroyd,
yeah.
She was a young teenager, so probably about 12, 13 or so. It's a little bit sketchier the further back you get, but certainly it's mostly, I think it's fair to say, being toddlers and up.
Okay.
So it tends not to be babes in arms by the look of the information you have. Okay.
Well, I would like to. I'm just trying to work out how we would maybe find out who's the special child of the whole bunch, but perhaps the Battle of the Bands is the best one, because you can find the most popular kid in town, right? That might be the best way of going on. What do you think, James?
Yeah, it's tricky.
So it said the most beloved, right?
Yes.
Beloved.
Aye, and if we ask any of these mums, they're going to say, oh, it's their little one, right? Whereas if we go with the band, we might have, I mean, you know what fairies are like. We think, oh, it's just some kid who's won a contest. They think it's the chosen one that's going to be, entertain them for a million years underneath the mound. So
that's good thinking. That's good thinking, Sharp. Yeah, perhaps we should look at this competition thingy. Right. I just hope the music is not so terribly modern.
Oh, there'll be some cracking metal, I'm sure. So we'll
almost inevitably the music is what James will not like. But yeah, I mean, as you wander around, there is a stall set up where you can pay £1, shall we say, in order to have a photograph taken of your baby, and across the weekend there'll then be a judging of who's the beautiful baby. And by baby, they mean anybody from, you know, any kid, really.
So that's going to thoroughly embarrass anybody above the age of 10, I guess. Right. That's definitely something. Do we know when you said it was going to be judged? When exactly?
Actually, let me rethink that. I think it's being taken today, and it will be judged at the end of the afternoon. And the mayor is going to do the judging.
Right, the mayor's going to judge it. Okay. So, I mean, James, what would you like to do? Would you like to have a check out the Battle of the Bands and have a look? Because this is feeling like the this afternoon. So we got 3 hours. We may as well. I was thinking of trying to, you know, we're in a bit of a bad situation. I'm going to try and read the crowd and, you know, try and work out what the best way to protect the potential victims would be.
Well, look, what I'm going to suggest is that while you two are thinking about what you want to do, I'm going to cut to a scene with Lunk and his fiancée and her child. Lunk, how old's the child?
She's 9. We were engaged 11 years ago, so she's not my daughter. I just want to make that clear.
No, yeah, no, I think we're assuming that she isn't. But yeah, if she's 9, she would fit into the most beautiful child in Ripon competition.
So I'll turn to her, and let's see. Her name is Abigail. Abigail, did you want your mom to enter you into the contest? Are you one of the popular kids? If you are, you'll probably win.
She's quite keen to be in a competition, I think.
All right. Well, we should wait in line and get your picture taken. Tell me, are you one of the popular kids?
Oh, go on.
I ask her if she's one of the popular kids.
I think every kid, when asked by a stranger, "Are you popular?" will say yes.
Fair enough. So we'll get her picture taken.
What her mother will say is, "Look, this was your idea. You can pay the quid."
All right. Now I'll pull out a bob and pay for
it. Fine. So she gets a photograph taken. Is there anything else you want to do with her and her mother? She is a really nice kid, actually.
I'll just keep chatting her up and try to find out, you know, her friends, any information that, you know, really just,
yeah. And
you know, with kids, you're always making them the center of all your questions, but in a roundabout way, trying to find out, you know, which kids are in the cool group and which ones aren't. Well, she probably thinks she's popular. She knows the cool kids because they're the ones who are already turning mean at 9 years old.
Yeah, and
throw a kid to the face.
And you will. Yeah, you will. As you wander around, she will bump into some of her friends, and some of those friends, you know, some of it is genuine, some of it's a bit forced. But at one point, she will be very keen to go off and play with some of her friends, because some of their friends. It's clear that some of her friends are a bit better off than she and her mother, and they've brought a kind of babysitter with them to kind of keep an eye on the kids, because there is a beer tent, and so this teenager is looking after a whole gaggle of kids, and is perfectly happy to take on. What's the name of this 9-year-old?
Abigail.
Quite happy to take her on if you two want to go and sit down with the other parents and have a drink. It's a bit early in the day, but it's a holiday after all.
All right.
Yeah. Okay,
Yep.
well, we'll see you dropping off the little girl with the teenager and the other gaggle of kids, and going over to the beer tent. And what do we see then when we cut back to James and Sharp?
I think Sharp has suggested an activity that's a plan of action which might not sit very well with James. He's honestly not. Sharp's a bit dubious about it as well. But yeah. So, anyways, if we find the mayor, right, he's going to be the judge. We get him to name a specific kid, or he tells us which the kid is, and then we can stake him out, and we'll know who the fairies are going to have to next, right? Because some kid's going to get caught anyways. So we may as well, step in to protect them. If we're not there, then we can't protect them. I do realise that does sound like baiting a trap with a kid, which might not be. Yeah. So the question is, can we find the mayor? I think.
On the other hand, James, I mean, Sharp. We know who we will anyway. We know who we will win because he won. So
Aye, it's true. It's true. I'm just thinking that we could. I don't know if we get the tip off from the mayor, because you never know quite how these fairies all work. It could be they snatch them and then you find out that it's they were going to be named all along, right? Like things get a bit weird around fairies, so I don't want to be like, Abigail, whatever she was. Sorry, I had that name stuck in my head. I shouldn't have said that one. Like little Susie, Smith gets named, and then we're like, oh, we should go find Susie Smith, and she got snatched up 2 hours before the announcement was made. They could smell it or something. They're a tricky lot, fairies. You never quite know.
Strange,
so just so I'm clear, is it the morality of this plan or its practicality that's currently concerning you?
I think it's the morality of using a kid as bait rather than is the biggest concern. Yeah, would we be able to find the mayor in this at the fair, or is he at the town hall at the moment, or elsewhere?
I'm happy for him to be surveying the fair and Ripon by the Sea, but I just would like each of you in turn to roll to act under pressure, please, just to give me an idea of what might be going on, in any order you like.
I fail that again. I get 5.
Nice.
Mark experience.
Yeah, is there a modifier for this?
Yeah, it's cool.
Cool.
Which I think we discovered last time. You're cooler than you look.
I might be lucky, and I have a 7.
That looks like it. So on a 7 tonight, give you a worse outcome, a hard choice, or a price to pay. Okay, I'll think about that while I wait to see what Lunk rolls. You're muted, Lunk.
Add cool, right?
That's right.
I got a 9. So, same result.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is while Sharp is bending James's ear about this plan, James is drifting off a bit because he's not entirely convinced by this. And can you just, if you check out your case file for the Spa Gardens, can you see that? Can you see that maze just laid out in the grass?
Yeah.
What you can see is there's loads of people crowded round, but among the crowd you can see the teenager that went off with the kids. it looks like she's leading them round the maze. And I think that that's what Lunk sees as he's sitting in the beer tent, looking out across the fairground as well. He can see that this teenager is leading all of these kids that she's had, probably half a dozen or more, around the maze. And then they reach the center of the maze, and it's almost like one of the kids just disappeared. Now, the hard choice is you can save some of the children who it looks like are being led through a portal into Fairy at the center of the maze, but you have to decide whether you save your 9-year-old or the teenager or one of the other kids. What's your choice? Sharp doesn't get to make that choice because he hasn't noticed.
I'm going to save Abigail.
Lunk, what do you do?
I'm going to save Abigail.
Okay, so you hare across the fairground. Show me what do we see on screen as you're doing this?
Let's see. So I've got to get her attention. I come out screaming, "Oh, Abigail, Abigail, your mom needs you right now!" Ah! And just waving my arms madly, flailing about, making a joke out of myself.
Fine, the teenager has got her by the hand, but Abigail turns towards you and is pulling towards you while the teenager is pulling the other way. James, what do we see you do, given this hard choice?
What's my hard choice?
First of all, tell me who you are looking to save. The hard choice is, do you try to save Abigail, who's the daughter of Lunk's fiancé of last night? Do you try to save one of the other children, or do you try to save the teenager?
And do I understand this correctly? The teenager is leading the other kids through this maze.
That's the impression you got on a 7 to 9.
Then I want to save the teenager.
Fine. So what do we see you doing? You probably have heard Lunk shout for Abigail, and you're converging on the center of the maze from different directions. What do we see you doing? What does this look like on screen?
So I imagine us staying like roughly in this area anyways, because this is also where the competition is gonna happen.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I'm discussing this plan with Sharp, and then I'm looking around as I'm not convinced by this plan what is happening around us. So I see all of this. I see Lunk coming out shouting. I see this teenager, the other kids, and then I probably see the first one disappearing, right? And this is where you see that like James' eyes are widening, like in recognizing what is going on or what is about to happen. And I will run towards this teenager and grab his hand, her. She, is it a she?
It is her, yeah.
Her. So I grab her hand and drag her behind the stage, perhaps, if the stage is close by.
The stage overlooks the maze, but you can certainly drag her in that direction.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing, I think, is that you've grabbed the teenager and pulled her in one direction. Yes. Lunk has grabbed Abigail and pulled her in the other direction, breaking the connection between them. And as you look back towards the center of the maze, you see 4 other children blink out of existence, it appears. But people are looking at you, not at those people. They're looking at Lunk, who's been shouting. They're not looking at the middle of the maze. So that's what you see happen What do you do now? Sharp, you can have turned round and see, because James will have sprinted past you, or sprint as far, walk briskly with purpose. So you can tell me what you're going to do as well.
I take it that means that I would have seen the people disappear because I was looking past him.
Yeah, that's fine.
I will sprint over to where they disappeared. And are there any more children there at all? Or
there were two other children who are just looking around a bit confused, wondering where all their friends have gone. And also, perhaps one of them's been to cry and point at Lunk, who's dragging Abigail away.
So I will put myself in between the children and where I saw the people disappear, and I will basically, I'm focusing on ensuring that whatever this breach to the other side is contained, or nobody else walks through it, and to see whether I can work out what's happened here.
It would seem to me that would be a good place to take a bio break and a chance for a drink, because that would be a perfect place for a commercial break. And then we'll worry about what you do when we come back. And I think, can we say it's just gone the hour now? If we can be back in our seats at 10 past the hour, I'm going to turn my router off and see if I can get it back up and running slightly more positively than it is at the moment. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Alan, you might want to do a speed test before you do it, and then do a speed test afterwards, and then you can track. So if you just type in speed test online, you can see how much bandwidth you're getting, and then you can see if it's made any difference afterwards.
Where do I need to type speed?
If you just type in speed test into Google, it'll bring up a website that will tell you.
Okay, yeah. I'll try that. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay, so I will hope to be back here in a visible form by 10 past the hour. Okay.
Cool.
See you then. Fingers crossed.
See you. Good luck.
See you.